Hi, welcome to Mrs. Harrington's art class. Today we are going to create a one-point perspective op art, which is an optical illusion art, and it looks really pretty, but it's actually very simple to do. So what I'm going to have you do is get your materials ready. The first thing you'll need is a piece of paper. You may hold it horizontally, or you may hold it vertically, whichever you prefer. I'll do it horizontal because it's easier for you to see. You will need a straight edge or a ruler, something that's going to give you a nice crisp line. You are also going to need a pencil. Unlike our other perspective drawings, you're not going to need an eraser today. I mean, you may have one, but it's not necessary. And then you're going to need a variety of colors. I have basically the rainbow colors here because we're going to be talking today about primary and complementary colors and let you decide which you prefer to do yours in. So today, we're going to be looking at our vanishing point. And a vanishing point is where our eye is going to travel to. Artists use that kind of point to focus the eye into what we consider the distance. We know that when something's in the distance, if you're looking out, say, at a landscape, you're going to have your eye, say looking at there, things are going to be a little fuzzier and it won't be as crisp because of water vapor and dust that's in the air. So as you go further away from your eye, things won't be as, clear for you. So just like that, we're going to be actually creating lines that move around this. Now, in order for us to get a nice pattern that looks like this, the best way is to start with an even number. 14 appears to be the best number to work with. So we're going to use 14 different lines. They do not have to match. They do not have to be symmetrical. They just have to make it to the edge of the paper. So if you'll notice, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm not going to make it even. I'm going to make it a little off so I get an interesting effect. 7. Okay. I'm going to do another one here. I'm going to add a few more, and I'm going to make sure that I have some that have varying size because that makes it very interesting for the eye. Now, I've made a whole bunch of lines, but I can't remember how many lines I've had, and so I'm going to go back and recount. So I'm going to start here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 5 more lines. So I'm going to maybe make a couple that are close together. That's 1 and 2, 3, 4, and I'll put my 5th one here. Now I'm going to double check because if I have an odd number of lines, it isn't going to work out. So let's start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I now have my 14 lines. The next step after we have our vanishing point with our 14 lines is to decide where we're going to begin. We're going to be using 2 different line examples. We have what's called concave lines and convex lines. Now the concave lines that we're going to be drawing means that we're going to be having the line that we draw curve away from our center point. Our convex lines are going to be curving towards our center point. So I'd like to show you with my pencil, and we're going to do this by hand, and you can do this at any length along your line. I'm going to start with my convex lines because I found that that's easier for me. Remember, as we go further away, the crispness of what we're doing is going to be a little fuzzier, so it's okay to do a few in the middle that are kind of close. So I'm going to start here with a convex line, and I'm going to alternate between each of my lines. It is okay to be a little different or different shaped. You notice mine kind of forms a little bit of an oval there. Then I'm going to come in and then add my concave lines. And you'll see I start to get an unusual pattern. And what I'm doing is I'm connecting where I left off before, using that concave line and connecting it. Now, the subsequent lines that I make after this are going to have to follow that same pattern. So for example, here, I'm going to do my curves here. Again, I'm following through with my convex lines. And I want to try to keep the same distance if at all possible. And when you're doing this by hand, it actually makes it so it's a little bit less stressful. And you'll notice that my triangles that we formed in the beginning are now turning into the shapes of cones. They're taking on a three-dimensional attribute. Okay, we're going to continue doing this. You can continue doing this. You can make them closer together. You can make them wider. I'm going to continue with about the same distance because that is my artistic choice and my artist choice to do so. And as I move through, whoops, I made a mistake. It's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and erase it. That's why you might want to have an eraser around. We're going to be covering it up with our colors later, so it isn't going to be that big of a difference. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in my concave pieces. And you'll notice that I'm coming back to where I started from. And here I go. I'm going to move this on a little faster. And remember, you can stop this video at any time as you are working on your own art at home. And what's fun is you can alter how close they are together, which will also give you a very different effect. So right now I'm keeping them all fairly the same distance apart. And I'm going to go ahead, connect it with my concave lines. And I'm going to continue that all the way to the edge of my paper. To get that true effect that you're hoping to see, it needs to go to the entire portion. And let's do our concave lines in here. We'll connect it all. Pause me at any time if you need to go in and add. Whoops, probably didn't finish that one. There you go. All right. And I'm going to come in here, and when you come to the edge of the paper, you'll notice that it gets a little hard to show, but even though it is hard to show, I would still continue to make that fake curve. You're not going to draw on the table, but you kind of get a sense of where it is, and continue that along. And I'm going to do that on the edge of my paper. Same thing here. Looks like I'm kind of off the paper. I can't do that there. But I can definitely go back in and add in my concave lines. They will fit perfectly within that space. Just like here. And I'm going to have to pretend, just like we have vanishing points off into the distance, I'm going to have to pretend that it kind of follows the curve, because my point would technically be out here, but we don't have paper to show that. Same goes with this one out here. We're going to continue that curve even though my point would be out here. Okay, and then I have space here, so I'm just going to continue with my concave there. When we're adding color later, we have the opportunity to go in and fix maybe parts like this. All right, next, this is what you should have. If at any point you would like extra lines in between, you can go in and add those. It just adds a little bit more depth to your op art. Next, we're going to look at color and make some color decisions for ourselves. So when you're making this particular op style art, what we want to do is select a color off the color wheel that is complementary. For example, the example that I gave you, I chose orange and blue. They are complementary colors, and you'll notice that they are across from each other on the color wheel. So this time I'm going to make a new one because I like to explore with new colors. I'm going to select my yellow and purple, these colors here. They are, whoops, that's the opposite. They are complementary colors. Now at home you might have markers, you can use those. I have crayons, I don't have any markers at home, so I'm just going to use what I have. So now I am going to start. You want to start with your inside shape first. And what you're going to do is start with your lighter color. That way, if you make a mistake, you can always cover it with your darker color. And I'm going to go ahead and color in with an alternating color. So I'm going to do yellow first. And then I'm going to skip this one because we're going to make that one purple. And then I'm going to go to the next one. So we're going to alternate colors here. And if you're using markers, just be careful it doesn't bleed. It's a very narrow spot. Colored pencils, you notice what happened here? I made a mistake, so I'm actually going to go back and fix that. So what I'm going to do is, remember I was telling you about possible mistakes could happen? If you skip over one here, don't worry, we can fix that. I'm going to go back in and fix my mistake. And then again, I would yellow, then this one should be purple. And I'm going to go back in and fix it this one. Purple. This one should actually be purple. And yellow. And one of the reasons that I start, and I'm going to color over this one here. One of the reasons I start with the center is if you do actually happen to make a mistake like I did, you can cover it up because remember that's the section of your artwork that is in the distance. It's harder to see. And then this one should also be purple. It's harder to see, which means that if it is a little blurry, and I'm going to color over these just so it all kind of looks the same, it doesn't really matter. It's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and color this one in here. And these should be purple. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and darken these a little bit more. It's okay. The illusion is still there. On the one that I did earlier, I did the same thing. And it happens to all of us. All right, so now I'm going to be skipping that outer layer, the next layer out, but I am going to color in the next layer. So here, my next layer here is purple. Okay, and then the next skipping one, and then this will be purple. There we go. And then I'm going to also skip one. Remember, this is supposed to be purple. Not a problem. If you're using colored pencils, just note that you don't want the tip too pointy or else then it might break on you. And here's my purple. Let me go ahead and color it in. It takes a little time. It's worth it though when you're finished. All right, here we go. If you're using markers, it goes a little faster. That's okay. And what's fun is I'm doing this on a full sheet of paper. If you start working at home and you're thinking, oh, I could be kind of creative with this, which I know you can be, you can try doing it on little index cards. That's kind of fun. You can get a really nice, and you can do smaller lines, especially if you're using those colored pencils or very thin markers. I'm going to skip yellow. Here's my purple. Here we go. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to skip one. Here's my purple. There you go. And then I'm going to go back in, and then staying within the same level, I'm going to go ahead and color the every other one yellow. And It's not happening now, but once we get to the outside of the paper, you'll see everything start to recede to the middle. One of the things you can do, if at any point you would like a higher contrast, you can always go ahead and trace over your pencil with a marker, like a black marker or a black crayon. If you like your edges a little more crisp. I kind of like the fuzziness of the crayon a little bit at the edges. I think there's a little bit of an organic look to it. And it's starting to come to life a little bit. There we go, there's our next layer. And now again, we're going to continue to move out. And you want to stay within the same color. So here, my purple would be here, right? And I realized that this should have been, again, this takes a little practice. This actually should be a concave. There we go. I'm glad I caught that before I colored it. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to follow all the way to the outside. Take your time. You've got all the time that you need. Now I'm having you select two colors as a complementary colors from each other because it does kind of give a deeper illusion for the person looking at it. But if you are interested, you can actually start doing rainbow colors in the same way, radiating out in rainbow colors. I've seen that happen with students, and it's actually very, very pretty. I know you'll take much more time to color that than I am doing, but I want to give you more time. Another way you can do this, you can trace the outside. Okay, and then again, yes, it has to be yellow, so I'm going to switch over to my purple here and alternate. And one more. Okay, so now, just like before, I'm going to go back in and alternate with my yellow. So this was yellow. We're going to skip one. This should be yellow. It's almost got that checkerboard effect. Beauty of crayons is you can color a wider spot fast. Although markers work pretty quick too. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, here we go. And now we just have a few on the outside. I just have a little point here, little point here. Remember, yellow here doesn't have anything. Yellow here doesn't have anything. Here I have just a little bit of yellow showing. No yellow here, but I do have yellow here in the corner. There we go. Okay, same thing here. Yellow showing in this corner. It's kind of fun if the lines don't actually meet to the corner, so you can get a little bit of extra color in there. And let's keep going. We have just a few sections of purple here left. I've got one next to this yellow. Nothing here, but I do have purple that shows in this corner. Oh no, there we go. Okay. And I think those of you using markers will have a much easier time getting close to the corners. broke trying to make it work. Here we go. And now we're getting close to one of the last few purples. We're going to the corner. Okay. Now that we've gotten to this point here, we're finished following our line all the way around. And what's kind of fun that we can do right now is if you take just a little bit of shading and you always take it to one side. Say I'll start with this purple section right here. If you just shade a little bit, not very dark, it'll give the illusion that it actually has a curve on it. And so we'll do that all the way down to our center one here. I'm going to do that here with this purple one. A little light shading. Now with markers, it'll be a little harder to get that shading in, but if you just do it very lightly, you should be okay. Or maybe possibly trace it just a little bit. It just gives you a little bit of sense of depth. A little hard to see on camera, but there we go. Okay. You can do that also with the same of the yellow as well. Just on the one side. You don't want to do the whole thing. You're not coloring in the whole piece. Just along the edge. Make it look like they're like little tubes running together. Colored pencils, you can actually change your pressure, so it'll actually be easier for crayons and colored pencils than markers, but it still really does come out beautiful. All right, here we go. Now you have finished your 1-point op art, and I wanted to show you this one because we alternated here. I wanted to show you another way that you also can decorate. I also used complementary colors, but I'm going to put this one out for you to see. This one here I traced with black before I colored. And rather than alternating colors, I kept the colors, I kept one whole band of each blank, and then alternated within the same tube, so it kind of looked like it was receding off into the distance. And so if I put them next to each other, you can kind of see the difference between the two. And it's really, you can be really creative with this. And I can't wait to see the work you've done, and be creative.